Greetings, Adam Stieber here. As you may have noticed, treasury spending in Kusama has been a point of contention for about the last 6 months. At first we were spending too much. Now, in my opinion, I think we were spending too little and have crushed the spirits of a lot of loyal innovators in the space. So I've been working for the last couple weeks preparing some reconfigurations to the runtime so that we decrease spending limits and can introduce a more budgeted approach. The idea is to bring about a paradigm of voting where we can vote more liberally, knowing that even if we spend the most, we have a pretty good timeline as far as how long we have until the treasury runs out. And also to utilize the preparation periods and conviction voting in a more strategic manner with these reconfigurations. So I'm going to show you how I prepared the runtime changes, and in fact I will be submitting the referendum in this video. So grab a drink, sit back, and enjoy. Let's get to it. A little background first. So in March, this last March, I posted a forum post going over treasury spending. It was at an unsustainable rate. I projected it to run out at the end of this year, which in my opinion was too soon. It was pretty reckless how fast we were spending funds. I suggested a more conservative policy in this older post, and I introduced the idea of budgeted tracks. Fast forward, after this post, a lot of whales came out to play and completely stifled any spend requests. They crushed a lot of people's spend requests after I had raised that alarm. And you can see that here. I continue the analysis out. Here's my forum post here. This is the old trajectory, and this is the forum post trajectory right here. So you can see a massive difference in sentiment on treasury spending. I calculated the zero date for this new trajectory, and that puts us running out of funds at about mid-2026, which I think is way too far out for Kusama. So what I did is I introduced this policy where we split the difference. If before was too much and now is too little, let's just split the difference so that we run out someday between end of this year and mid-2026. And so that puts us at about early 2025. I introduced these limits that will essentially make it so that we cannot spend more than 6,000 KSM every 2 spend periods, because one decision period of 14 days coincides with about 2 spend periods. A spend period on Kusama is 6 days. So that's a little background here, and I received a lot of great feedback, and I've tried to implement feedback as best I can. So let's actually go through what we're changing technically. So what I've done is I've taken the current runtime and just made a few changes here. So I'm taking the 9.43 release and comparing it with the branch containing my configurations, which takes this release and just changes these parameters. You can look into it. I don't want to go into all the technical details because it'll take forever, but in short, we changed the limits, we changed the max deciding parameters, and some preparation periods along with some other things. So a more comprehensive summary of these changes. This is a pull request, by the way, which can be merged in the case that this root track referendum passes. So the idea is to upgrade the current runtime before 1.0.0 release in a completely non-parity, community-led manner. So, but obviously we'll need to merge those changes onto the parity freight train of runtime upgrades. So I've prepared a separate branch that can be merged directly into the future release of 1.0.0. So that way, if we do vote in favor of this change, it can be implemented easily in 1.0. So, small tipper track changes max deciding from 200 to 6. There's no limit change to the spend limit. I think it's 250 quid or about 8.3 KSM. No change in the approval. Preparation period changes from 1 minute to 3 hours. Reason being that there's such a decrease in the max deciding that we want to give enough time for competing referenda to compete for a deciding slot. And that's it for the small tipper. Big tipper, no change in the spend limit. We're changing max deciding from 100 to 3. No change in the minimal approval. We have a preparation period of 6 hours instead of 10 minutes, again to accommodate competing referenda, and no other changes. Small spender, we change from 333 KSM to 100 KSM. We change the max deciding from 50 to 7. No change on the minimum approval. For the next 3 tracks, we're changing the preparation period from 4 hours to 24 hours. And no change on the confirmation or decision period. Medium spender, we are changing this from a max spend of 3,333 KSM to 1,250 KSM. A max deciding from 50 to 2. No change on the minimal approval, and so forth. Big spender, we are changing from, this is $1 million or 33,333 KSM to a mere 2,500 KSM. We are changing the max deciding from 50 to 1. And we're actually changing the minimum approval for a big spender referendum from 50% to 66%. So it'll be harder to pass. For whatever reason, the big spender track had a confirmation period longer than any other spending track, even the treasurer. So I'm just making this consistent with all the other spending tracks, which is 24 hours. At least the budgeted ones that aren't tipper tracks. And for the treasurer, we leave the treasurer track open to accommodate spends that we may want to make an exception for outside of the budget. However, we are requiring a higher minimum support, and the preparation period is twice as long as the budgeted spending tracks. Similarly, with the confirmation period, we're doing 48 hours. And also the decision period for the treasurer track will change from 14 days to 28 days. So we are making it a lot more difficult to get anything passed in the treasurer track, which makes sense to me. We should be using the budgeted spending tracks for treasury spends if we want to stay on our trajectory. All right, let's get into the runtime. So how you prepare a runtime upgrade on Kusama, you need to use something called srtool. An srtool will prepare a WASM blob of a runtime upgrade. So this is how you can ensure that the changes that I've made to the 9430 release are verifiable through means of srtool. So this is what we're doing here. We're going to clone my repo, my forked repo of Polkadot. We are going to move that to v9431 because that's the version of my changes. That's the spec version that I'm introducing. We're going to go into that directory. We're going to check out my spending reconfiguration branch containing all the changes necessary to prepare this runtime upgrade from 9430 to this one. And then we're going to build the runtime. Oops. We're going to build the runtime. All right, so here we go. Just hit enter. Watch. Now this is going to take a while, so I'll probably proceed with other things while it's building the runtime. So I'll just let this download that repository. Will take a minute. If you didn't notice, the music playing are the Goldberg variations by Johann Sebastian Bach, performed by Glenn Gould. This will take some time, so perhaps we should move along. I just want to see it start. I just want to see it start building. Yep, here we are. Okay, so it has initiated the build. So you can see that we're using 1.70 Rust and srtool version 0.11. And you can see that we have checked out my reconfiguration branch right here. So it's going to just do some magical Docker stuff. So it's going to download all these things, and then it's going to start compiling the runtime. So I already did this, by the way. I already did this, and this is the output. So let's explore what the output is. Right? Well, our concern is right here and some information up here. So you can see the Git branch right here. You can see that we use srtool version 0.11 and the Docker image right here. So this is verifiable. You can compile my branch and get this exact same information. So the setCode hash here is one of the most important. So let's just make sure that the setCode is correct. So let's go into the amazing Polkadot.js app. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the setCode that srtool told us would happen is what will actually happen. So here is the runtime right here. It's the wasm blob. We're just going to copy that right in. Now this thing is 1.5 megabytes, so it might take a minute. And here you can see the encoded call hash is the exact same as in srtool. We have 0x47c, 0x47c, and then you can see that it is the same. Let's just do a side by side. It is exactly the same. So we know for a fact that this is ported over. Now there is a quirk with runtime upgrades on OpenGov. Apparently you need to submit it with a utility with wait call. So, but srtool does not take that into account when it's giving you the call hash. That's why we just do a raw setCode. So instead of that, we're going to, so this is actually to prepare the referendum on chain. So with wait, we'll do the system setCode. We'll upload the very same file. There it is. Ref time, I honestly don't really know what the right thing is, so I'm copying the last runtime upgrade, which was 1 trillion here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And here, proof size, the last one had like 3.15 something million. Here, I think I'm just gonna do 10 million because ain't no way the proof size is larger than that, and a block can accommodate a lot more than 10 million bytes. I believe that's what that means. All right, so what we have here is the utility with wait system setCode of the runtime containing my changes. We have the waits in place here, and here's the encoded call data. Now, the thing about preimages is that you need to submit them and store them on chain. to simply submit the extrinsic to note the preimage costs something like 5 KSM in just transaction fees. On top of that, you need to reserve something like 51 KSM to have the runtime persist, or this call persist on chain, because it is such a large file. I think it's at 1/10 of a cent per byte to store things on chain, and so obviously 1.482 million bytes is going to be expensive. So it's 51 KSM. But what you can do actually is submit the referendum before noting the preimage, and that's what we're going to do. How we do that is we take the encoded call hash here, we copy that, we will go to the referendum page, but before we start to submit anything, so we'll submit proposal, so root track referendum, preimage hash is right here. Whoops, I must have, okay. Ooh, we don't know the preimage length, so let's figure that out. Let's go into preimages as if we're going to submit it. So, utility, with weight, system, setCode to this. Oh, I fucked that one up. Oops. Oh, that's because we haven't had file upload turned on. This is the worst UI. Right, let's let that upload. We'll do a trillion. And proof size 10 million. And I believe we got the same call hash. That's what we had in our clipboard. CC23, CC23 indeed. What we were looking for is a preimage length. So I'm going to write that down. 1482934. 1482934. Okay. So now that we know the preimage length, we can actually submit the root track referendum. Let's see how this is doing. It is compiling the runtime. Preimage hash is right there. The length is 1482934. This number doesn't matter. And here we can submit the referendum. Now, since we haven't noted this preimage, because it is so expensive, and I am working on getting that noted, this won't actually show up in the UI containing all the call to change the runtime. However, it can be verified by anyone by running srtool and checking the preimage hash themselves. So this can be verified without a preimage noted. So I implore everyone to compile my runtime changes and see if it matches up with what I have here. In the meantime, before we submit this, I mean, I know it's right, but I just want to make sure. I know it's right, but just don't always want to double check everything. So we'll wait for the output to come here. And yeah, so we'll just wait for that. It's going to take a minute. You can see how it compiled all these different things. I just want to make sure that it's the same. You can never be too careful. I'll just keep the changes up, I suppose, until it has compiled. So that way you can look at all the changes that have happened. I am assuming that I'll get referendum number 235, though I guess it is possible that somebody submits something during the making of this video. Now, my hope, like I said before, is that this will allow people to vote A on more things, including whales. So, if you're a whale and you're watching this, just know that I'm doing all this for you guys. You guys who are so worried about the Treasury. This is a very conservative reconfiguration that will limit spending to a maximum that will last us until 2025. I mean, ever since I did the analysis, Bifrost did refund the Treasury with what they borrowed, so we'll probably end up lasting a lot longer. Plus, there's a lot of talk with revenue models and also being able to figure out ROI and what spends should be, or how much we should budget towards certain categories of spends. So, but my hope is that this will just put a hard cap on everything, so that no matter what, if we're spending as fast as possible using these budgeted tracks, that we'll make it to mid-2025, I think, at this point. Probably even longer, because there's no way that every 6 days we're going to be spending the maximum 3,000 KSM every 6 days. I don't think it'll be like that. But even if it is, we don't have to sweat, because we do buy ourselves enough time. And this is Kusama. So I think that if we're going to tank the Treasury, we should do it on Kusama. I think the whole idea of the Treasury burn is to encourage spending. The point of Treasury funds is to spend it. I mean, it would be great to have a Treasury that will last forever, but there's no use in hoarding KSM, hoping that the value will increase or that we'll have better revenue. But ultimately, I think we should spend Treasury funds, and we should not discourage people in asking for Treasury funds. Okay, substrate WASM runtime is ready. Okay, so this is the same output that I got last time. Let's see. What we're looking for is this, or this is the same. If this is the same, this will be the same. If this is the same, this will be the same. Come on, spit it out. You said it's ready. Obviously it's not ready. Just kidding. I'm sure it's compiled. There's just a lot of tools in the background crunching numbers. So it took 13 minutes. So it's, I mean, if you got half an hour, just you know, verify that this runtime is indeed what I say it is. Come on. Spit out the output. Let's go. I'm waiting. There it is. And already I can tell it's the same. But to make 100% sure, we're going to just do a side-by-side comparison. So we're going to copy this. Okay. And we're going to go here and paste. But that is exactly the same. And here you can see here, exactly the same. So I know it seems like that was not necessary, but what I really want to make sure of is that people know this is a legitimate runtime change. They can look at my GitHub branch, they can verify it for themselves, they can compile it themselves and make sure that all the hashes match up, that we are upgrading Kusama as intended. This would not compile if there were anything wrong with the chain, so it's not upgrading to broken code. And that's why Rust is so amazing. And that's it. I mean, that's it. That's all I got. So I encourage you to vote A on this referendum that I'm about to submit right now, actually. So now that we know that this is indeed the correct information, the root track we're submitting from my account, yep. We're going to go ahead and submit this referendum. So, I mean, I hope to God that this is correct. Submission track, yeah. You don't want to screw up a referendum. It's very embarrassing. Yep, we're going to submit this. All right. Let's do it. Expect chaos. There you go. Root track referendum. Boom. Right there. If you got the money to put the decision deposit down, please do put it down. That would be appreciated. Otherwise, this might time out. In fact, I think it will time out. I don't think anyone will put the decision deposit down. I've been told by a couple people that they will, but that's an entirely different thing. So that's it. So vote A on referendum 235. I'm going to publish the pull request. I'm going to change the poke assembly, so with this video and everything, and yeah, there you have it.